Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten layayif koach. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who gives strength to the weary. Friends, it's been a hell of a week here in the United States of America. You don't need me to list off the headlines. The sense of turmoil is palpable and inescapable. My eyes are glued to my phone, fingers scrolling for some measure of comfort, heart overwhelmed by the barrage of despondent messages it continues to deliver. I suspect that many of us, myself included, are feeling profoundly scared, exhausted, and discouraged. It feels like we're on a collision course with a waking nightmare. But let me be clear. There is nothing inevitable about the crash. The sense of defeatism, the notion that the future has already been written and there's nothing we can do to alter its course, is the most dangerous myth threatening our future right now. We can be scared without being resigned. We can be exhausted without being fatalistic. We can be discouraged, but nonetheless courageous. This is both a political and spiritual call. Ours is a tradition that affirms that tomorrow can be different from today, that the future unfolds, not according to some predetermined outcome, but from countless acts of living. To throw up our hands and surrender to the myth of inevitability is to relinquish the most precious and sacred gift given to humanity, our capacity to change the world around us. Defeatism is a negation of potentiality. It robs the human spirit of its will to be a force for good. It strips us of our responsibility to harness our power. It replaces humility with arrogance. Think about how much has changed in the last month. Now remember that we do not know what the next 4 months will bring, and no pundit does either. Please, there are no foregone conclusions. A posture of defeatism is a position of arrogance because it presumes that we know the whole story before it's been written. And when we immerse ourselves in this toxic mixture of inevitability and fear, we unwittingly advance the very nightmare we hope to avoid. As always, we look to the Parsha for guidance and wisdom, pathways to the future that we might not have seen without a close reading of our sacred text. The narrative in this week's Parsha is driven by the desire of a fearful Moabite king named Balak to curse the Israelite people. He hires the prophet Bilam, known throughout the land for his ability to manifest blessing or curse with the power of his word. Balak hires him to curse the Israelites, but in the end, after 3 different attempts to solicit curse, it's only words of blessing that emerge from Bilam's lips. The commentators are consumed by questions of Bilam's identity. Is he a true prophet or a fraudulent charlatan? Is he motivated by truth or by personal gain? Does he secretly want to curse the Israelites despite his claim that he can only utter the words that God puts into his mouth? These are all fascinating questions. But this morning, I want to keep the spotlight on the dynamic between Balak and Bilam, between the man who is hell-bent on soliciting a curse and the prophet who refuses to accede. I'm interested in the tactics that Balak employs to produce his desired outcome and why they ultimately fail, both then and now. and our present day. The first two times that Balak tries to get Bilam to curse the Israelite people, he brings him to a lookout point designed to limit what Bilam sees. In each case, the language of the text specifies that from these two places, Bilam will only see ktsei ha'am, a portion of the people. Balak believes that if he can control what Bilam sees, he can shape what conclusions Bilam will arrive at. Perhaps in seeing only a portion of the people, Bilam will come to believe that the Israelites aren't as powerful, numerous, or blessed as they're rumored to be. Or perhaps Bilam will see something negative in this slice of the Israelite encampment and believe it's representative of the whole. In each case, the cynical calculation of Balak is that Bilam will mistake a partial picture with the full story. Balak wants to narrow the field of vision, closing off any possibility beyond what is immediately in front of Bilam. Look no further. Everything you need to know is right here. Curse them. But Bilam resists. He knows that a partial story is just that, incomplete. It fails to account for what isn't seen, for what could be beyond the limited perspective. So Bilam blesses. Mimana afar Yaakov. Who can count the dust of Jacob? There's more than I can see. I don't know the whole story, and I refuse to allow a narrow perspective to displace expansive possibility. I will not let what I see right now fill in the blanks of what could be. So Balak tries again, a slightly different approach. Vayikach Balak et Bilam rosh habeor, hanishkaf al penei hayeshimon. Balak took Bilam to the peak of Peor, which overlooks the wasteland. Once again, Balak's strategy is to frame the image, leaving room for only one kind of response. Here, it's not a partial image, it's a fully negative image. Look out at them, Balak suggests, and see them in the color I've painted them. See a dystopian wasteland, a people of which no good can be uttered, a people worthy of destruction. The only choice with a people like this is to curse them, to render the fate that they deserve. But Bilam will not fall for this trap, this blood-colored picture. He refused to be boxed in by the image presented to him. Vayashet el hamidbar panav. He turned his face toward the wilderness, looked up, and saw Israel encamped tribe by tribe. In a sense, the text is ambiguous. Are the wilderness and wasteland different places? Did Bilam face a different direction than the one Balak pointed him towards? In both cases, I suspect not. Looking in the same direction where Balak could only see what he wanted to see, wasteland, Bilam saw wilderness. And in our story, wilderness is the place of expansive possibility, of dreaming beyond what is. It's the birthplace of Torah. It belongs to no one and therefore can be home to anyone. The wilderness, Hamidbar, is the place of quiet that makes it possible to hear Hamedaber, the one who speaks the world into being. Bilam hears a radically different story than the one Balak attempted to orchestrate. Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, Jacob, your dwellings, Israel. Bilam sees and blesses the good in these people as they are, and then begins to dream a multicolor vision of what could be. He prophesizes a future for the Israelites filled with abundance, beauty, and strength. I'll leave you with two thoughts, transposed from the encounter between Balak and Bilam onto our present day. There is a profound danger in mistaking a partial view for the full picture. When we think that what we see today is all there is to see, we run the risk of starting to believe that nothing else is possible. We curse tomorrow with the despair of today. But the blessing of tomorrow is that it reminds us that what we see today is always and necessarily a partial picture. The full picture is always a work in progress. So don't give up on the work as to not condemn the progress. And second, in any vision of what our society is and could be, there must always be space to name the good and imagine the ideal. Don't fall for the trap of believing it's all wasteland, when in fact it's wilderness. We curse a land to desolation when we stop believing that it has the capacity to birth new possibilities. But even today, there is goodness to bless. And for the sake of tomorrow, there must be dreams to sanctify. Shabbat Shalom.